is everybody doing this afternoon or morning, depending on where you are? You know, as soon as I hit go live, my ear popped. Now everything sounds really funny. There we go. Wait, maybe? No, my ear popped. I sound like it's weird. Just this one though. This one's fine. This one popped as soon as I hit go live. No, I can't get it to stop. All right, so I'm just probably going to have a weird look on my face this whole time going, why do I sound like I'm in a box? All righty then. So today we are going to chat about cables. I was like, I had a plan. What was it? Cables. Yes. Unless there are other things y'all wanted to chat about, you can always ask questions and such as usual. Hello, Monique. So whatever floats your boat. I do not know why I am so tired. There is actually caffeine in my tea, so I'm not sure what that's all about. I probably just, my ear unpopped. I no longer sound like I'm inside of a tunnel or whatever. Lovely. All right, yeah, I have no idea why I'm just tired today, but I am. I'm sure you all have those too, right? So like I said, today we're going to chat about cables, and I'm just going to tell you some of my favorite tips and tricks and techniques and stuff. I have a little screen to share here. Actually, let's make that a little bigger. We'll do like that. Yeah, sure. Why not? Or even, no, that's not what I want to do. We'll go like that. That works. Yeah, here we go. So let's take a look at this. This is actually the link to this. Hello, Sarah. I did not mean to highlight all that. The link to this post is in the description of your live. And also, if you're on Instagram and it doesn't share the description, you can always go here. It's just Jessie at Home. It's the New Year Cal post-stitch cables. And I have a bunch of links in this post to other useful articles. Okay. So I did this a while back. How many years ago? I don't remember. It was probably like 3 years ago or whatever. For the beginning of the new year, there was a New Year, New Skill crochet along, and I was teaching about cables. So one thing you need to know when you're working with cables, obviously, well, not obviously, if you don't know this, then how is it obvious? When you're working with cables in crochet, most of the time cables are done with post stitches. So you can see I have a little link here that will take you to tutorials on how to do post stitches, both front and back. Okay, and they have pictures and videos and little charts so you can practice them. All right, so there is one of the links inside here is just how to do post stitches. And basically when you're crocheting cables, what you usually do is you skip a couple stitches and then you make some post stitches, and then you go back and you put post stitches into the stitches you skipped. And that means that, you know, you've crocheted a few and then you skipped a few and you made post stitches, which made your stitches lean. So they're going, if you're right-handed, they go from the top right to the bottom left. And if you're left-handed, they go from the top left to the bottom right. And then when you go back and you do the post stitches in the stitches that you skipped, it crosses over top of those. It leans in the opposite diagonal and crosses over top. Now it crosses over top as long as you're working in front of those two or however many post stitches that you did at first. And that's always the easy way. So if I do a cable where everything is crossing in the same direction, I always have it so that when you work the second set of stitches of post stitches, the ones that go kind of backwards, that will go from, if you're right-handed, they'll go from the top left to the bottom right. And if you're left-handed, they'll go from the top right to the bottom left. when I'm writing a pattern that only has cables going in one direction, I will always do them, well, I usually will do them so that so that you work on top of the previous stitch, in front of the previous stitches. If you have to work behind the previous stitches to make the cables work the other direction, you kind of have to pull the stitches towards you and like go ahead and work in behind them. And you'll see that in some of the video tutorials. So you'll see that in this post, I tell you that I've released a pattern that's perfect for learning cables. And so I'm just opening it up in a new tab so we can see it. And this is the pattern. It's super fun. It's really simple and quick. So this is a great pattern if you have, here, let me go back to comments. I realized I'm on the wrong screen, so I can't see if people are saying anything. Okay, there we go. This is a great pattern if you haven't done cables before. All right, there's tons of post stitches in it, so you'll get a lot of practice with your post stitches. And then the cables only go in one direction, so you don't have to do the working behind, only the working in front. And this ear warmer pattern, if you're looking at it, you can see that I've also linked to that one, crocheted cabled mitts, because I made it to match my cabled mitts pattern. Okay, so these are the cabled mitts. And let's see if I look at a closer view of them, of the cables. I'm pretty sure, well, if I look at the, yes. Again, these only have the kind of cables that you can work in front of the previous stitches. And I say in this tutorial, in this stitch definition about the left leaning cable that's worked across 4 stitches. You skip 2, you front post treble in each of the next 2, and then you front post treble and both of the skip stitches, working in front of the previous 2 stitches. So you don't have to do any weird finagling like you do when you have to do the back ones, the ones worked in back of them. It may help to think of the stitches numbered from right to left if you're right-handed, or from left to right if you're left-handed. This was before I was being inclusive there about my left and right-handed, so I should put that in there. Numbered from your dominant side to your non-dominant side, as 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll front post treble in those stitches 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, and that's all it takes to make a cable. So that's a cable that's across 4 stitches. If you are right-handed, that will make a left-leaning cable. If you are left-handed, then numbering the stitches from left to right and going 3, 4, 1, 2 will actually give you a right-leaning cable. Okay, in order to get the left-leaning cable, you would have to work behind. But for this pattern, there's no reason why you need to flip those. Okay, your cables will simply cable in the opposite direction of mine, which is not a problem at all. There's no reason why you can't keep the same in front of or behind on a cable if you're left-handed and the pattern's written for a right-handed person, or if you're right-handed and the pattern's written for a left-handed person. As long as you always do in front when they say in front and you always do behind when they say behind, then the things that need to be opposite will be opposite. Your entire cable pattern will be opposite. Everything in the original one that leans to the left, yours will lean to the right, and everything that originally leaned to the right, yours will lean to the left. But as long as everything is opposite, it will still work. Okay. Let's see. We have a few comments. I think that was on the ear warmers. Yes, and the ear warmers have great texture, and so do the hand warmers. So do the little wristlets. Yeah, front post stitches to back post stitches I definitely prefer, and also working in front of as opposed to working behind I also prefer. Yeah, tutorials are a must. And the thing is, like, because with the lives like this, I don't actually have something set up to go over my head. And because I already have tutorials with the overhead views and everything, um, video tutorials made for you, didn't want to necessarily show you these things here, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea of the various places you can go to find the tutorials. Okay, so you can see that in here, I link directly to a tutorial to show you how to make this, this stitch. So if we go back to the original post, remember everything so far has been linked back from this original, sorry, here we go. We didn't go back far enough. New year, new skill post. Let's see. So there's the ear warmers again. And here, what I've created is, and I need to make a new one and take a better photo. I don't think I have this anymore, so I should just make a new one and take a better photo. I have this sampler. That's the word I'm looking for. I have this sampler for cables that you can learn. And it starts with 2-stitch cable, which is 1/1, 4-stitch cable, which is 2/2, and 6-stitch cable, which is 3/3. Okay, and I've included a chart. So any of these that are green, it means you can click on those stitches and go to a tutorial that'll teach you how to make those stitches. Okay, and I probably even have tutorials for the others at this point. You can always find additional tutorials under Stitchopedia here in the menu, and then crochet. And there's actually a specific section for cables. Post stitches would be under basics and techniques. Any like just regular stitches would be under basics and techniques. Stitch patterns are things like the box stitch, or, you know, the, I don't know, the blanket stitch, or the lemon peel stitch, or linen stitch, or whatever. They're actual like stitch patterns made up of multiple stitches. And then cables. And of course, if you're looking for something and you don't want to go through the whole menu, you can click on the search, this little search guy, and then type in what you're looking for. So this is the little sampler that we're making. And so I have written the pattern here, and you can see here is your chart. Okay. So you can, this chart, you see that we have everything. We have all of our different cables, our 1/1, our 2/2, and our 3/3, and the little cable key. Okay, and then I've linked a couple patterns that also use cables. So I have found that this answers a lot of questions. And if you are really into cables and you want to learn some more advanced ones, I do want to update a lot of these tutorials. Just again, I would like to have better photos and everything, but the actual tutorials themselves, there's nothing wrong with them. I would just like to have some better photos and stuff. I wasn't taking the best photos in the world here, but you can see there's different kinds of cables. I love this braided cable. Okay, I'm actually working on a pattern for December that uses this braided cable. Only what I've done is one of the tips that I absolutely love, the little like changes that I love to do in the pattern that I'm currently making. You can see how with this braided cable, it's actually 2 cables. So it's worked over 6 stitches. You have 2 stitches that are post stitches, and then a 2 cable. And then on the next one, you have the 2 cable, and then the 2 stitches that are post stitches. And it actually alternates one of them. So all of these would be worked with, let's see, all of these would be worked with the front, and then the other direction works where you're working behind the work. So you have to flip them around. It's in the pattern, but you do have to, for a cable like this, work some of the stitches where you do skip 1 and 2, post, what are those? Front post treble crochets in 3 and 4. And then working in front of those, you front post treble crochet in 1 and 2. And then on the other one, you'll go in, skip 1 and 2, front post in 3 and 4, and then when you go back to work into 1 and 2, you actually work behind. So there's a little more involved with that one. You have to, get yourself behind there. And is there a tutorial? Yes, there is a tutorial with this, so you can see how to do that. There's a video tutorial. I'm pretty sure with all of these cable patterns, I have video tutorials, so you can really see what I mean with the camera overhead and everything. All right, it's so much easier to see with the overhead camera and everything set up. So that's what's in these tutorials here. If you're like, just the words aren't doing it for you, which they pretty much don't usually when you're talking about cables, that's why I have the tutorials. The thing that I'm doing with the pattern that I'm making right now for December is I'm using this kind of braided cable, but there's actually every other row is just the post stitches across, so it kind of spreads out the cable, the braid, and in between every 2 stitches, I actually have a chain. And you can do that with any of the cables that you make. So let's go and look at some of the other cables here. If we go back here and look at just like your basic cables, basic cables, come on, here we go. Here's just basic cables. So if you go and like this one, this is like lots and lots of awesome pictures here. So you can see how we skipped 2, we worked in stitch 3 and 4, and then we go back and work in stitch 1 and 2. Okay. And here I'm showing how you work behind. Okay. And again, there's videos that show all of this as well. But if you, when you're working these cables, you see how this is 2 over 2. If I did the first 2 stitches and then did a chain 1 and then did the next 2 stitches, same thing when I do the cross, you do the first 2 stitches, which are crossed over, then a chain 1, and then the next 2 stitches. If I put a chain 1 in between each set of stitches in the cable, in this case, it's a 1, 1. So I do the post stitch, chain 1, post stitch. It will it'll make that cable a little bit more defined because it gives a little bit of a space in between each of those little sections of cable. It's almost like if you knit, when you're making knit cables, sometimes people will do a purl stitch in between. So they'll do, they'll do the purl stitch in between the sections that are being cabled. So if you have like 3 knit stitches and 3 knit stitches that are being cabled, you'll have knit 3, purl 1, knit 3. And then when you're doing your cable, you'll put the 3 on the cable needle, purl 1, knit 3. You'll put the 3 on the cable needle, purl 1, knit 3, and I don't remember. I have to actually have a pattern in front of me. But sometimes people will put the purl in between the knit stitches when you're knitting cables in order to make the cable a little bit more defined. And that's the same idea as putting the chain stitch in between the cables. So when we have a 2-2 cable like this, you do your 2, your chain stitch, and your 2. When we have a 1-1, you do your 1, your chain stitch, and your 1. And when we have the 3-3, which is down here, okay, you do your 3 and then a chain 1 and then your 3. So, here you would do these 3 post stitches, you would chain 1 and these 3 post stitches, and then you keep going. And then on this row, you would do your 3 post stitches. You still do the chain 1, even though you're not doing any fancy cabling here. You're just doing post stitches. That's fine. You still do your chain 1 and then your other 3. And you can even put the chain 1 on both sides of the cable as well. So it would be, here's your half doubles, your chain 1, 3 post stitches, chain 1, 3 post stitches, chain 1, and then your half doubles again, chain 1, 2 post stitches, chain 1, 2 post stitches, chain 1. You get the idea, right? That really makes your cables pop out a little bit more. All right. Let's see. We have a couple of comments here. LND Cornelia says, good morning. Good morning. And also thank you for the tutorial and a graph because you use both. I try to make sure, yeah, I really prefer to be able to give you like every form of learning. So that would be the written pattern, as many photos as I can get in there, the charts or graphs, and the video tutorials. That way, however you learn best, there's something for you. I do my best to do that. It is a lot of work. So sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Celtic Weave. Yeah, I love the Celtic Weave one. Let's go and find that one. Here, we're going to open that in a new tab. I love this Celtic Weave stitch. And I actually made a pattern using this one, which is, let's see, I think I may have just called it, well, if I just put in Celtic Weave, it'll probably give me the pattern. Let's see. Yep, there we go. Celtic Cables Purse. So this is, if you really like the Celtic Weave stitch, you can first practice with the, you can go ahead and, go into the cables and, oops, not sure what I just did there. We'll go back. Sometimes I hit a random button. You can go into the cables under the Stitchopedia and find your little Celtic Weave, or again, you can just type in Celtic Weave in the search. And you can kind of learn the tutorial here, learn how to make the stitch here if you want to practice first. And then you can go ahead and make this bag. And the bag, it's got one of those things that I love to do with bags where I made the front and the back. And then the strap starts right here. It is the side. I make it the side. I don't think I do a join as you go. I think what I did was made a really long strap and then I seamed it together possibly. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I made this pattern. But the strap starts here, is the side, then the bottom, then the other side, then the entire strap. And you can kind of see it's then seamed over here. And you could actually put, like, if you wanted this strap to be adjustable length, like maybe you sometimes want a crossbody and sometimes want it this way, or maybe you want a crossbody. When I have crossbody bags, I love to have the strap adjustable because in the summer it needs to be one length and in the winter over all of my layers it needs to be a little longer, right? So since this one is seamed right here, what you could do is make it even longer and then put like a little D-ring up here or something and then do the little fold over adjustable strap on here. You would just have to, get your hardware and make your strap adjustable. But yeah, I love the Celtic Weave stitch. It's so pretty. It took me a while to really get it down, which is why I do recommend going to the tutorial specifically for the Celtic Weave stitch first before making the purse. If you haven't done the stitch before, even if you have and you're rusty on it, like I would probably go back and practice the tutorial before I do it again because I haven't done it in a while. But it's such a pretty stitch. It's just, there's something about it that takes a minute to like grasp, right? Oh, I see what I was doing and I need to fix that. So there we go. Let's see. There was some more comments here. Yeah, the Celtic, you definitely, again, that's why I have the video tutorials because you sometimes need to see them done. Yeah, and I love the chains in between things because it does really help everything pop. That purse is not lined. I do need to make a tutorial for bag linings. I have an in-person class that I've done on lining bags, and I need to actually turn it into an online course that people can take for lining bags. And the other thing is, if you have a bag that you would like to line with fabric, okay, or with crochet. I mean, you can line a crochet bag with crochet. It's just still probably going to stretch a bit. But if you have a bag that you would like to make a fabric lining for, you can always come to one of our sit and stitches make sure you have the bag. I would say you would want to have your bag. You would want to have like some paper, if you have packing paper around, so that like something you can like put the bag on and kind of trace around it. But make sure you have your bag. Make sure you have paper and pencil. Our sit and stitch, and come to a sit and stitch. Our sit and stitches are not recorded. Okay, so if you are asking questions in a sit and stitch, make sure you take notes, because they're not recorded, because they are mainly a social thing, and we just kind of chat and everything, and it feels kind of intrusive to record those. It doesn't. And sometimes people are like, "Oh, I'm making this for so and so, and I'm making this for so and so," and as long as they're not on the sit and stitch, you can talk about it, because they're not going to be surprised. They're still going to be surprised. It's not going to ruin their surprise. So, and there are a lot of people who work on gifts in the sit and stitches, which is another reason why I really do not want to record the sit and stitches. So if you bring a question to the sit and stitch, make sure you bring paper and pencil or your note app or whatever. I'm a paper and pencil girl, but you can type it however it works for you. But just bring as much as you can, bring it online to the sit and stitch, because that is done over the Zoom, where everybody is on camera and everybody can talk. You can turn your camera off, you can mute, but that way I can help you. For those who don't know, I was a professional costume designer before this, and I ran the costume department for Adelphi University for several years, and was the costume shop manager. So I'm saying all of that to let you know that I do know what I'm doing when it comes to sewing and creating patterns and everything. And because I also had to teach all of those things to 19-year-old people who sometimes were like, in New York for the first time in their lives and had never left, like, I'll say Arkansas, because my college roommate was from Arkansas, and she's always like, they don't have things like this in Arkansas. Sometimes they're a little distracted by life. So if I can teach them, I can teach anybody. Forgot about putting purses over because you've been down in Texas too long, Sarah. Yeah. Those of us who live someplace cold know that sometimes, especially if you have a crossbody bag, it needs to have an adjustable strap if you're going to wear it over various seasons. If we're interested in learning cables, where should we begin? 100% begin with this post, this article that I have linked in the, I have it linked in the, what is it called? Description of this video. If you are on Instagram, and so it didn't show up in the description, here's the link, but you can also see it here on the screen. And you can just go to jessieathome.com and search it. Okay, I know you're all like, wait, this is Crochet Foundry. Yes, this is Crochet Foundry. I am the owner of Crochet Foundry. This is my blog that I have had for my kids are 17, so over 16 years. I think we're about to hit 17 years. And there's a lot of really great tutorials on here. So that's why, even though I'm on Crochet Foundry, I'm sharing this, because I know these are good tutorials because they're mine. That sounded really conceited, but it is true. I'm as much as it's tooting my own horn, yes, I am a very good I'm a good teacher. Let's see, what time is sunset tonight? It's not is tomorrow a Jewish holiday? I don't know. I don't know, sweetheart. You're thank you. Yes, jackets get big, and yes, so jackets get big where you are too. So let's see, any other questions over here on Instagram? No. Awesome. So if you are starting off, the sit and stitch. Did you ask what time the sit and stitch is tonight, and your talk to type said what time is sunset tonight instead? Got it. That was a talk to type typo. The sit and stitch tonight is from 4 to 6 Eastern. So it is currently like 12:30 Eastern, which means it starts in like 3.5 hours. Okay. So right around the same time that this thing started, you would have gotten an email for if you're a newsletter subscriber, you would have gotten an email saying that it starts in 4 hours with the link to join. Okay. So earlier you asked if we're learning cables, where should we begin? I would start with this post. Okay. And I would look through this post, and I would either, like, you can be really brave and you can do the whole sampler. I keep forgetting the word sampler. Make the sampler right away. Or if you want to take it even slower, I would start off and pop over to here to the cabled ear warmer. So you can kind of look at the post, look at the new skill post, okay? And then start off by making the cabled ear warmers. Let's see. Make sure that I linked the here we go. And here I linked a tutorial for for the crochet cables. So this is going to give you a couple videos. This gives you for over the 2 and the 4. So yeah, and this one is really, really very detailed with lots and lots of photos. So here, let me toss that in here. All right. So this post stitch crochet cables has really detailed photos and showing the 1, 2, and what you're skipping. So this is a 1-1 cable, so it shows that I skipped the first one, went into the second one, and then you're going to go back and make your post stitch over the first one again. Okay. And then this shows when you have to work in front of them or behind them. So here's the one that's being worked behind, and you kind of got to push the other stuff to the front and everything. And you can see it really well also in the videos. And here's the cable across 4 stitches, which is what's in the ear warmers. Okay, so this left leading cable across 4 stitches, this is what's in the ear warmers. If you are left-handed, just make a right leaning cable across 4 stitches, which is basically just the mirror image of all this. So you would still do skip 2, front post treble in each of the next 2 stitches, front post treble and the skipped stitches working in front of the previous 2. And if you think of the stitches numbered, if you're left-handed, think of the stitches numbered from your dominant side to your non-dominant side as 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to work the stitches 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, if you're right-handed, that will give you a left-leaning cable, and if you're left-handed, it will give you a right-leaning cable. And as I said several times already, this is one of those things where the videos are super, super helpful. I put in the words, I put in the photos, and I put in the videos, and I also put in the charts. Everybody has their own thing that works best for them. And I find really with cables, a lot of people really need to see those videos, okay, to really understand how they work. And so, yeah, I would start off, I guess kind of the order you would go maybe would be to start with the post stitch crochet cables tutorial. And then once you've kind of used that, once you kind of have an idea how to do that, then you can go ahead and make your, if you really want to go step by step, and like really learn each one, then from there you can make your cabled ear warmer, which is only doing the the left leaning cables if you're right-handed, or the right leaning cables if you're left-handed. So it's only doing the cables where you're working in front of the previous stitches. And then go ahead and try the sampler at the bottom of the New Year, New Skilled post, where you do singles, doubles, and triples. So you do a 1-1 cable, a 2-2 cable, and a 3-3 cable, and you do them in both directions. That's why there's 2 sets, because the first set goes working in front of, and the second set goes working behind. So that would be kind of the order I would say to work them in if you're just learning cables and you want to go kind of step by step. Let me go back to the comments because it tells me that I have a few more. Thank you. Yes, the headband. The headband I specifically made as my first cables project. And then once you've got the headband down, it would be pretty easy to pop over and do the matching mitts, which are linked in the headband pattern. I linked the mitts because I said I made them to match the mitts. So the mitts, it's got the same cable as what's in the headband. There's just, it's worked in the round, and there's increases and the hole for the thumb and everything, but it's still, again, a very simple, still an easy level pattern. I put intermediate on here because it used to be a standard that if a pattern had post stitches in it, it was automatically an intermediate skill. I'm pretty sure, or at least an intermediate skill. I'm pretty sure the standard is still if a pattern has cables in it, it's automatically at least an intermediate skill, but post stitches are no longer considered an intermediate skill if they're just post stitches. I think once you move into cables, though, it's automatically considered an intermediate skill. So even though cables are considered an intermediate skill, this would be an easy pattern within the world of cables. So the ear warmers are definitely the easiest pattern I have with cables on them, and that's specifically why they were made. And then the mitts pattern is just almost exactly the same skill level. Once you've completed the ear warmers pattern, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to complete the cables pattern. Okay, the mitts pattern, I mean. So there we go. Yeah, I think that was a lot of what I wanted to say. Was just I have, again, if you look at on the menu and you do Stitchopedia crochet cables, you can see all the various cable tutorials that I have. There's a lot of them because I had a little cable thing for a while there. And these are just the tutorials. These aren't the patterns. These are the tutorials. And then no, I didn't list cables as a specific thing in here. But I should have. I wonder, no, I was going to say, I can't remember. Once upon a time, the app allowed you to search keywords like cables or whatever within crochet patterns. There's probably, there is a way to do it. I think if I do this crochet patterns, let's see, plus cables, does that do it? Oops, cables. Does that do it? Let's see. No, I can't remember what the magic no, it should have worked. Instead of appliques, that should say cables. Let's see, cables. Because I'm pretty sure I have a category for cables. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's just a tag. Or maybe it's cable. Anyway, I guess I'm not going to have any luck finding the way to give you both here. Yeah, I must not have a category for it. I should. Now I'm making that note to myself here that I need to have a category just for cables in my patterns, because I do have a decent number of cable patterns. And you can always just, again, type in cables and see what happens. I have some roundups of cables patterns. Okay, there's the Celtic purse, there's a roundup, there's your new skill. So yeah, if you just type in cables in the search bar, you're going to get everything. Here's another roundup of cable patterns, some of the Stitchopedia patterns, and various other things. Like, some things are labeled. Some things come up in the search and I'm like, why does that show up in the search? And other things I get, like this one has a cable pattern in here, and there's a cable in this one. So yeah, so if you just search, oh, because I didn't specify crochet, you'll even get some knit cables in here. Because I do have knit patterns and stuff as well. So there you go. Let's see. So yes, the headband is a good starter project. There is a magnifying glass. Yeah, there's the exactly. There's the magnifying glass right next to the basket here is how you search. Okay. And if it's sometimes it holds your last search, so you just want to back it. Oh, because we're actually currently in the search. So you need to delete it before you write a new one in if it's holding the last one. But yeah, if you just type cables in there, you're going to get a lot of patterns. This is hysterical, the Vines and Twigs scarf. I made it for a magazine, and when they took the photos, it was being worn. It looks fine on both sides, but this is the right side, and they had it on inside out. And that was my like, oh yeah, I need to make sure that I label everything front and back. It was one of my early patterns that was sold. Like, I need to make sure I label everything front and back, and I really need to make sure scarves are really reversible. I mean, like I said, it looks good on both sides. It's just one side is really more of the front than the other. So yes, lots and lots of cable patterns. And a lot of I was really into Fashion Soft for a while, and it doesn't even exist anymore, which is such a bummer. But here is a tip that everybody should know. Okay, everybody who likes yarn should know. yarnsub.com. No, I am not an affiliate with them. I just think they're awesome. And then you can type in Fashion Soft. Okay. And it says, which one did you mean? I meant that one. That is now currently discontinued, which is just so sad. I like, it was inexpensive and awesome and great and lovely. I mean, and it was discontinued back when Red Heart was just still owned by Red Heart. And I was like, dude, what the heck? And they're like, yeah, we know. Like my designer liaison person, she's like, I know, everybody loves it, but they just keep discontinuing it. So here we go. Oh, see now Uptown DK, that's funny because I am now kind of obsessed with Uptown DK by Universal. And it's really funny that it's a 99% match to Red Heart Fashion Soft. That I guess I have a type. I love Uptown DK. Again, the price is lovely. It works out. It crochets up really nicely. It lasts. It looks good. It's awesome. I love it. I don't know if this is less common or if it's in a I don't know if this is like something that's more common in another country or whatever. I'm not really familiar with this one. Brava Sport, which is probably one of my favorite for the acrylic yarns from We Crochet and Knit Picks. Okay, so these are yarns that I do really like and use a lot when I'm looking for something that is an inexpensive, non-allergenic, really good quality, if I want it to be washable. That's one of the things I love about these yarns is they're washable. Okay, you don't have to worry about if you're making it as a gift for somebody else, them accidentally shrinking it. You don't have to worry about you accidentally shrinking it. I still wash them on delicate. If I wash them if I put them in the machine, I still do it on delicate, or else I wash them by hand. I always use Unicorn Clean products with them. And I always lay them flat to dry. I never put my handmade items in my hand knit or crocheted items in the dryer. So those look to be like the really common brands that I know of. Some of these might be more common in other countries. Brava Recycle is apparently another really good match, and I don't know about you guys, but I love recycled yarns. Just anything that is better for the environment is nice. Here's a Hobie Bingo. Premier has really great yarns. Anti-pilling DK colors, gotta love that, right? And anti-pilling everyday DK. Your gauge is a little bit off. The amount of yarn is a little different than in Red Heart Fashion Soft. But again, just, check things out and see what works. Some King Cole. So yeah, I love Yarn Sub because not only does it tell you how good of a match, like 90%, it tells you what matches, and then it tells you what things you're going to want to take a look at, to make sure that it really does work when you're trying to sub it. So here with Uptown DK, you're going to need, for each ball of Fashion Soft, you need 1.41 balls of this, and the color styles can vary. It has solid and self-striping, whereas Fashion Soft only ever came in solid, right? Brava, let's see, the gauge is a tiny bit off for Brava. You may need to use smaller needles. Make sure you do a swatch to gauge check. With the ear warmers, one of the things I love about the ear warmers is they're not crocheted in the round, they're crocheted in rows. And so you can just make it until, try it and see what works for you. And one of the other fun things you could always do is you could make it a little bit long, make it like 2 inches longer than it actually, if you make it basically the size it needs to be, right? So the two ends touch and it feels good. And then you take the one end and fold it over like a hairband, right? Fold it over a hairband with like a 1/2 inch to 1 inch seam allowance, sew it, and then fold it over the other side, safety pin it so that you have your hairband that wraps around your head, and then it's just, here, we'll go like this. Hold on a minute. All right. Folding paper. So this is your hairband, right? I mean, this is your ear warmer pattern that you made. You fold it like this and encase in a hairband, and the hairband is a circle, and then you wrap around, fold this way, and catch the hairband as well, so that you have the hairband right in here. Okay, when you fold the second side, safety pin it and try it on, so that way if you need to actually, if it's too loose, just make that fold a little bigger. Okay, but that's a trick I love doing with ear warmers. And of course, your other option is you can do some sort of buttons with loops or whatever. But I love doing with the working in rows and a repeat pattern. And I like, it's either a 2-row or a 4-row repeat for that pattern, is you can make it longer or shorter depending on your needs. So let's see. There we go. Yarn Sub. Yes, Yarn Sub freaking rocks. I love them so much. Organize your patterns by type and then by weight. And some designers put yarn down instead of the weight plus the yarn. Yes. Big Head sees lots of problems with ear warmer patterns being too small. And I've started making sure that my ear warmer patterns go all the way up to 24 inches for 3 reasons. One, some women have what they would call a big head, and so they need the 24 inches. Sometimes people, especially people of color, if they have like really, afro, really poofy hair, or certain braided styles, those braids can add some dimension, right? So depending on, usually I'm thinking about my daughter's friend who always has a different hairstyle. Usually when our hair is just like natural and poofy, wonderful. She is one of the ones that's like, it's not an afro, but it like comes out poofy like this, and it's just it's so adorable. I love it. She's just the cutest kid. But it's one of those, she's cute because I know her too. Like the more you get to know her, the cuter she is. She's awesome. I love that kid. But anyway, yeah, when she like puts on something to pull it back, it does get really small. But when she has the braids in there, and I've seen plenty of people with braids, that when you have the braids in there, those can kind of add some serious dimension depending on how much additional hair has been put in and what kind of braids they are. Um, so that can really make you need a bigger hair warmer, right? And then a longer set of ear warmers. And then the other reason is I wanted to make sure that we're also trans friendly. And so transgender women sometimes have a head that's larger than your average cis woman. So I've been trying to make sure that my hats and ear warmer patterns, even if I'm considering them a woman's pattern, go all the way up to like a 24-inch head, to accommodate for hair, for hairstyles, for larger heads, for transgender, for everything. So I've been trying to make sure to do that. Plus now so many people are just wearing what they find, what they like, and totally ignoring whether, what traditional gender roles of various items, which is awesome. I love it. Wear what makes you happy, dude. I mean, I personally think that somebody wearing something that they feel comfortable in and that they feel happy in, like you can see that when somebody like feels good in what they're wearing, you can see it, right? And they hold themselves different, and they're like, there's something really attractive, and I don't mean like attractive in a romantic way. There's something like very magnetic about a person who is just feels comfortable in themselves and in whatever they're wearing, right? So I say wear what makes you happy, because if you are happy in what you're wearing, you probably look better because of that confidence that you have. Hello, Sunita. It's so good to see you. See-ish, you. It's definitely not good-ish. It's definitely good. It's just see-ish you. Yes, we have an agreement here. Yeah. People who feel confident in what they're wearing just look nice because you can see that confidence. And it's a wonderful thing. All right. So this all started back here with the New Year, New Skill Cal, and that is the one that is linked in the description. But again, if you just go to jessieathome.com and you click on the little magnifier glass and type in cables, you're going to get a lot of patterns. Currently, none of those patterns use that chain one space that I was talking to you about earlier. There's going to be a pattern in the December issue of Crochet Foundry that does use that chain one space. I love that little trick. It does help your cables pop, but you can add that into any cable you want to add in. Just make sure you swatch, keep things in mind as far as gauge goes. If you're talking about a fitted item and all of that, whenever you're doing some sort of alteration, like modification to a pattern like that, just keep in mind it might change your finished gauge. Putting that chain one in the cables doesn't tend to change it that much, but it really depends on what you're making, okay, and how many cables are in it and all of that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind. If you modify a pattern, it's not necessarily going to come out to the exact specs that the designer wrote because you modified it, right? So there you go. All right, so our sit and stitch starts at 4 p.m. Eastern. It is nearly 1 p.m. Eastern right now, which means it starts in 3 hours and 6 minutes. And I hope to see a bunch of you there. This has been absolutely wonderful. Oh, if you are a newsletter subscriber, then you would have gotten an email about an hour ago telling you there's 4 hours until the sit and stitch, and it'll have a link to the sit and stitch. There's also a link in the Crochet Foundry Makes Facebook group And so I hope to see you all at the Sit and Stitch. And this Friday, in 2 days, is the November issue will be released. The November issue of Crochet Foundry will be released, which means our next live a week from today will be when we go over all of the patterns and take a look at all of the patterns in the November issue. All right. So I will see you all later. Have a wonderful Wednesday and have fun with your cables. And remember, any questions you have on bag linings or cables or anything else, crochet, knit, sewing, basically lots of craft related, feel free to come to the Sit and Stitch, to come to any of our Wednesday Sit and Stitches and ask the questions, bring them with you and ask the questions because I love to help. All right. I will see you all around. If I can find my mouse, there it is. No, it's still on the other screen. There we go. All right. Bye-bye.